What you're seeing here is a picture of a baby boy that was born on January 1st, 2000 at 12:23 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And he would be making some content based on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade through the social media platform of YouTube since his high school graduation back in 2018. His name was Brian Crow. And when I was 11 months old, the first Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade of the 21st century had begun. A cold Thanksgiving morning was not going to stop these volunteers to march 2.5 miles from Central Park West to Macy's Herald Square. Sadly, the parade folks had to say goodbye to two legends as they planned for their retirements. The parade's executive producer since 1977, Gene McFadden, and their head designer since 1966, for he and his crew that has been making those iconic albums in a faster tone, but you can barely hear the main verse of the song in the background. Look, Tito Puente, I know you're gone and you miss your son, but his song has to be here at the bottom of this ranking because it's a long club mix song, and a parade performance makes me think I'm deaf. No offense to the deaf community, by the way. Number 19. Up on the Housetop, Jingle Bells, and We Wish You a Merry Christmas by the cast of Barney's Night Before Christmas. Last episode, we saw our purple dinosaur manage to go so high on the list with the song Christmas is Our Favorite Time of Year, from the holiday special Barney's Night Before Christmas. So for this year, we got them performing 3 classic songs that were used in the special: Up on the Housetop, Jingle Bells, and We Wish You a Merry Christmas. With Up on the Housetop, which is the last Christmas song before the I Love You ending, Hannah and Barney performs it while waiting for Santa, since she doesn't want to sleep. For Jingle Bells, Barney, Baby Bop, BJ, and the kids are making their gifts for Santa. And for We Wish You a Merry Christmas, a group of carolers with bells sing their greetings to Barney and the kids. I will admit, their numbers in the special are pretty good. My personal favorite one from that special that I heard is Jingle Bells. Now, the reason why this is low is, of course, because you cannot get those renditions of those digitally from the special, and the other reason is, of course, the parade performance. My gosh, without the kids and the set of carolers, you just get another Barney, Baby Bop, and BJ performance in a childish tone. And what's with the mouth movement on BJ and Barney? Like, especially with Barney going like this. Except when Barney wishes them all a Merry Christmas at the end. I do prefer watching this performance over the Imagine performance from '97, but this is the second worst one out of all the Barney performances in the parade's history. Number 18. I Got the Sun in the Morning by the cast of Broadway's Annie Get Your Gun featuring Cheryl Ladd. 2 years ago, the 1999 revival of Annie Get Your Gun did a sneak preview performance of the number There's No Business Like Show Business featuring Tom Wopat. On its second year on Broadway, this year Annie Oakley takes the spotlight with the number I Got the Sun in the Morning. Now, the original star of the revival, Bernadette Peters, had already left the show, so her replacement, which that word has a completely different definition when it comes to Broadway, was Charlie's Angels star Cheryl Ladd. Now, listening to the original soundtrack version with Peters, it's honestly boring. Now, I'm only judging this rendition from this revival on its own, since I never listened to the original Ethel Merman version. A very slow-paced number is making me wonder, what was it like on stage? The parade performance with Cheryl Ladd is more about the choreography and less on the lyrics, and way too upbeat by all means. Also, what is with the costume on Annie? With all those awards on her dress and the boots right under it, it's such an odd design to me. Sorry, Annie Oakley, but Frank Butler's number would be my choice, cause I got no sun in the morning and the moon at night with this rendition. Number 17, Believe in Music by America Sings. I'm not gonna make that comment about the vocals, so let's just talk about this song real quick. It's not great, but the tone of the vocal performance does make it better than our bottom 3 on the list. Choosing the song as the first performance of the 21st century was an okay opinion. Not gonna say any more here. I'm just gonna leave it as it is. Number 16. You Got Trouble and 76 Trombones by the cast of Broadway's The Music Man. Today, the classic 1957 musical is currently on Broadway for its second revival, starring Hugh Jackman and Susan Foster, which we don't know if that revival would be performing for this year's parade. We'll just have to wait and see. But many people are not familiar with the first revival back in 2000, starring Craig Berkio and Rebecca Luker. And like the current revival, this revival also did not win any of the Tonys it was nominated for. So for this parade, led by Berkio, they performed two of the numbers from the musical You Got Trouble and the ever-famous 76 Trombones. Now, the song choices and the parade performance both have problems. For the song choice, I will say this revival's rendition of You Got Trouble is pretty good, but 76 Trombones feels really long, especially that instrumental break. Not to mention there is no way to get this soundtrack of this revival digitally. I know Apple Music has, but it's not available here in the US for some reason, and no way to get it on Spotify or SoundCloud. There was a moment where the soundtrack was on YouTube, but that got removed. For the parade performance, the You Got Trouble number is a bit fast, but it does have a better highlight performance of 76 Trombones. One of these episodes, when it comes for multiple songs in one performance, especially on Broadway, I will split them up in their own spot on the list. But since we don't have these songs digitally, they have to be together on this list. So I do Got Trouble, but it doesn't stand for a big parade on the list. Number 15. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer by Andrea McArdle and Alexis Kaloff. Many people would know who Andrea McArdle is. She is the original Annie when the musical first opened back in 1977. 23 years later, she was on Broadway again, playing as Belle in Disney's Beauty and the Beast. She, along with the daughter of her now ex-husband, Ed Kaloff, Alexis, as the last celebrity roster for the first parade of the century, with their rendition of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And this one is my least favorite out of the four by comparing to the Pointer Sisters, Florence Henderson, and the last one for the next episode. Because this rendition remix, if I'm guessing based on the tone of this, especially with the Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight? Or when Alexis says, then one foggy, foggy Christmas Eve. On my research, I see that the mother-daughter duo would perform together on stage a lot if you go through some YouTube videos. But I'm gonna be honest here. When I watched this parade for the first time, the intro never mentioned Alexis, just Andrea, and in occasions when they go to commercial. So I was expecting a great rendition from Andrea, but when I heard they mention her daughter, I was like, where did she come from? Not to mention, she's not that well known outside of performing with her mother, since she was a teenager back in 2000. Maybe we could see her officially into her mother's spotlight on a big Broadway show and win a Tony, but I don't know what she's doing nowadays. Number 14. So in Love with Two by Michaela. This 13, soon-to-be 14-year-old Michaela Enriquez, well known on the PBS Kids show Wishbone, was also a short-lived music artist, as she performed from her upcoming / last album, Michaela, with the first song of the album that had a single release by the time she performed at the parade, with So in Love with Two, which I don't have a passion for it. I mean, judging both the full length of the song and the parade performance is not usually easy for me to judge. Not surprising, because the album had gained mixed reviews. Also, her expressions are so serious when you look at the parade performance. Sorry, Michaela, but there's another young artist on this ranking I do prefer based on the song choice. Number 13. Dare to Dream by Jody Messina. Last time we saw her in the 98 ranking with the song I'm Alright, which ended up at number 5. Now she has released her third album called Burn, and they would use the third song from the album called Dare to Dream, which would have its own single 2 years later. and it is a bit of a downgrade comparing to I'm Alright. I mean, it is a good song, but when you compare it to the others on this list, it can't go any higher. For the parade performance, it's kind of odd to me. It had a good start, but using the end verse at the end didn't work well for me, and it felt rushed. Number 12, Say No More by Innocence. This girl group for 7 years that did have Britney Spears as a member for the first year before she went big on her own. They don't have a high discography in their career, as there's only one album from the group called So Together, and the picked song was the second song, and one of the 2 songs from that album that got a single release, Say No More. And I do get a great movement on the main verse of the song on how catchy it is with the I don't care what you say, I don't care what you do. And I always get say no more in my head a lot. The other lyrics are fine, not great, but it does give us a good parade performance on what the lyrics they use. I would want to make a joke here, but with the Free Britney events that took place in the past, I decided not to. So go give it a listen to, and I will say no more. Number 11, Reach Your Hand Up High by the cast of Sesame Street. Another year with our favorite characters from Children's Television Workshop, now renamed Sesame Workshop as we know it. For their first performance of the 21st century, our pals from Sesame Street sing Reach Your Hand Up High. First up, it is great to see Big Bird on the float again after not being on it for 2 years. Also, we got to see Ernie on the bathtub with Rubber Ducky, and we also even got to see Stinky part of the performance. That's cool. However, I do not hear any individual voices of the characters, let alone the Muppets. Like, you cannot hear Elmo by all means. More of a B tier for Sesame Street's performances in the parade, but they managed to get on top over Barney. Number 10, One Brick at a Time by Ann Hampton Callaway. Last episode, we saw her performing with the cast of Broadway's Swing. Now this year, she's on the new Pulte Holmes float, and she performs One Brick at a Time from the musical Barnum. Which, by the way, thank you all for telling me where the song Join the Circus came from. Speaking of that song, this performance is also a parade exclusive, but I do prefer this one over Vicki Lewis's performance, with Ann Hampton Callaway kind of bringing that catchy swing aspect of the performance. Just make my feet move. But it's only a minute and 15 seconds. But with an upbeat does make it at number 10. Number 9. Swing Brothers Swing, Sing Sing Sing, and it don't mean a thing if you ain't got that swing by the cast of Broadway's Swing. Wait a minute. Didn't we just did this one last year? Yeah, we did. It was placed at number 15. And we just looked at Ann Hampton Callaway's performance. Okay then. What do we got? It is the same number, the same performances, but it has different actors, which looks like they're replacements at the time, but it makes it to the top 10? Alright. Yeah, I still think the performance from last year's was better than this year's, but the song is better than some of the others that are under this list. I would put One Brick at a Time over it, but because of my rules, it couldn't go higher than this one. However, being the same number is still pretty good in my books, although the vocals for these guys are not in the levels of the original stars. By comparing to the other 2 Broadway ones we've looked at, I would go back to this one then I Got the Sun in the Morning and the Music Man numbers. So yeah, doing the same number again and got higher in the list, and this number still got me that swing. Number 8, West Side Story by LFO. Similar to Innocence, this hip-hop group started their careers in the late 90s until last year, which is 1999 I'm referring to with their debut album. They used the 6th song from the album called West Side Story. And yes, this song is an homage to the musical, since it's about a guy who only kept thinking about the girl name, which the name for this song is Veronica. Her Friends Are Too Good for Him, which give us the vibes of the Romeo and Juliet style musical everyone's familiar with. And having this hip-hop style, the song works so well from the trio, and the parade performance is fine as well. Sadly, two of the members that participated in the parade, Rich Cronin and David Lima, had passed away back in 2010 and 2018 respectively at the very young ages of 36 and 41, both from a battle with cancer, which means the only member who had performed with them, Brad Fischetti, is still alive today. It is sad to see two music artists that had died from young ages, but if there's one thing they definitely had accomplished, is their life to perform in the Macy's Parade. Number 7, Biggest Blamed Fool by the cast of Broadway's Seussical. Last time the world of Dr. Seuss had participated did not go so well, with the Cat in the Hat balloon creating the biggest accident in the parade's history. So what do this world brought us now? Well, a sneak preview of a new musical called Seussical that was set to premiere 7 days later. And they brought a number from the main plot of the musical surrounding Horton the Elephant with Biggest Blamed Fool. As Horton, played by Kevin Chamberlain, who would later play Bertram the Butler in Disney Channel's Jessie, discovers a speck and hears people and puts it on a clover. And you all know the story of Horton Hears a Who. The sour kangaroo, played by Sharon Wilkins, comes in and scowls him, and the other animals do not believe in him, which leads us to the number. And this is labeled as the best Broadway performance of 2000. I really gotta highlight Sharon's performance as the sour kangaroo here. She really steals the spotlight. There is also Gertrude McFuzz, who is Horton's love interest, and Maisie LeBird, who cares about herself. But you don't get the Cat in the Hat's part for the parade performance, and it's not because of the character itself to remind fans of what happened to the balloon. It's just that for the televised performance of this number, they would not add his part, if the Cat makes an appearance on a talk show like they did on the Rosie O'Donnell show. Also, is it just me? But if you listen to the soundtrack of the number, did Mike Myers got inspired from David Shiner's performance to do his performance for the 2003 film? I don't know. And the audio of the soundtrack and the parade performance are different. Most notably how the Wickersham brothers said, "And the Wickershams got to know." And then they changed it for the show on Broadway with, "And monkeys like us should know." I prefer the monkey part. I'm not nasty and I'm not cruel, but this Biggest Blamed song in the Macy's Parade makes it to number 7. Number 6, I Want Candy by Aaron Carter. Nick Carter became a member of the Backstreet Boys and performed with this group in '97. His little brother at 12 before turning 13, Aaron would take the stage for 2000 with his cover of The Strangelovers' I Want Candy from his second album, Aaron's Party Come Get It. Although there would be some things he would do when he gets older, at the time he stood out more than his brother during the early 2000s based on the Macy's Parade. Reviews on the album were very mixed, but I do enjoy his cover of I Want Candy. The parade performance, other than the good set of lyrics, is the one thing that I keep getting distracted by, the girl backup dancers. It is a great song, but there are 5 songs that tops it over. And I think when we get to his next parade, when he already hits puberty, I think it might be better than Candy. Number 5, Still on Your Side by BBMak. Once again, like Innocence and LFO, this British trio boy band started in the late 90s and would get their first studio album for this year with Sooner or Later. And they would use the 9th song from their album that got a single release the following year, Still on Your Side. And it's a really good song here. I mean, I have no issues with it, with the exception of the parade performance, because of course, they can't do the full version. And maybe on the verses they did for the parade kind of gave me vibes of Shadazy's performance last year, but I will still stand up for them no matter what they're going through. The song will still be on my side. Number 4, Praying for Daylight by Rascal Flatts. Everyone knows who Rascal Flatts is. This country band, which they disbanded last year, had some notable country hits including My Wish and their cover of Tom Cochrane's Life is a Highway that was used for the Disney Pixar movie Cars. Before that, they had their debut album in the 21st century and uses the first song from their album called Praying for Daylight, which is about a man losing the love of his life and hoping she comes back during daylight. Seems odd by concept, but the lyrics do make it unique. The parade performance, well, you got the beginning and the ending verse that I've been asking for these performances, but they should have added the third set of lyrics to the end part where we saw, and it would have been a great performance. But a good song choice, and their careers are about to start after their first album. Number 3, Me and You by Kenny Chesney. Originally on his second album, All I Need to Know, in 1995, and then got to be the title of his third album a year later, country singer Kenny Chesney brings us the 7th and 6th song from both albums, Me and You. We not also get our emotional song of the year, but also Me and You is the easiest song to remember the lyrics, as it feels a perfect song for the first dance at the wedding to the person you love the most. For the parade, the Maytag Appliance sponsored a new float called Mother Earth, and songs like this fits well in this float, although they should have done the final part of the main verse. That minor still puts this lucky song from the mid-90s into the year 2000 in the top 5. Number 2, Breathless by The Corrs. So, who's going to start the roster of celebrities for the first Macy's Parade of the 21st century is the Irish family band The Corrs. Sisters Andrea, Caroline, Sharon, and their brother Jim joined together as siblings to become a rock band. Now, they did start their careers throughout the 90s, but it wasn't until their third album that was released that year, In Blue, got the band to be well known in the United Breathless, which ended up being very divided by critics, as some then that said it is the weakest song of the album, but it was nominated for a Grammy. So yeah, I'm in the positive here, because it is a good song, and I think the parade performance is better than the one in the soundtrack. And once again, I'm kind of getting distracted by Andrea, who is the lead vocals of the group, with the hat she's wearing, which I don't blame her since it was in the low 30s that morning. So I will just go on, and leave it breathless with my number 1 spot. Okay. I am gonna get some hate here on what my number 1 is. Because I know that this has been labeled as one of the worst songs of all time. But since it did perform for this year's Macy's Parade, and the song was already released in the summer from their 6th album, and it was also written for Rugrats in Paris the movie, it was one of the songs for 2000. Not labeled one of the best, but it ended up being one of the most iconic songs that was released. All I gotta say is, who let the dogs out? Who? Number 1, Who Let the Dogs Out by Baha Men. Yep, this song managed to get at number 1. So why is it other than the statement I've mentioned? Well, I was dancing in my seat while listening to it, and I had the most fun here, since the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is technically a party, and you see how they party with their performance. And it's ironic that their float, which was Animal Planet, is not near the Rugrats balloon. If Macy's Parade Studio would have switched Animal Planet's float with the new Old Lahaina Luau float, then we're talking some connection with the song. As I've said, it's one of the songs of the year. And despite how many people call it one of the worst, the Bahamian band Baha Men with Who Let the Dogs Out is the best song of 2000. In the Macy's Parade, to be specific. Thank you guys for watching, and I know there are going to be some dislikes after this. So if you did like this episode, you can hit that subscribe button and comment down your personal ranking of the 20 songs. Next time, we continue our journey in the past with our next parade as we celebrate 2 events. One being the Diamond Jubilee year of the Macy's Parade, and the other, a parade that honors not just Americans, but the whole world, to honor and remember those lives that we lost on a day that we will never forget.